Chapter 1. The Prophet's Challenge. The sun was scorching the kingdom of Israel, but inside King Ahab's fancy palace, it was cool and dark. Ahab lounged on his golden throne, his crown sitting crooked on his messy hair. Next to him, Queen Jezebel played with a shiny necklace, her sly smile making everyone nervous. Statues of Baal, their fake god, stared down from every corner. But today, a big surprise was coming. The huge palace doors flew open with a boom. In marched Elijah, a man in a plain brown cloak, looking like he didn't care about all the riches around him. He was a prophet, someone who spoke for the real God. The guards shouted, "Stop!" and grabbed their swords, but Elijah didn't even flinch. He stomped right up to the thrones. King Ahab jumped up. "Who are you?" he yelled. "How dare you barge in here?" Elijah pointed straight at him. "I'm Elijah, and I serve the Lord, the true God of Israel." His voice boomed like a drum. "You've been naughty, telling everyone to worship Baal instead of God. So God says, no more rain, not even a sprinkle, until I say it's okay." Everyone froze. Even the servants stopped moving, their jaws dropping. Queen Jezebel laughed, but it wasn't a nice laugh. "Your God can't stop the rain," she snapped. "Baal controls the storms. He'll wash you away." Elijah stared right back at her. "We'll see who's stronger," he said coolly. "God doesn't need statues to prove he's real." Ahab's face turned as red as a tomato. "Guards!" he roared. "Get him out of my palace!" The guards lunged, but Elijah was too quick. He darted through the crowd like a rabbit and ran out into the blazing sun. Behind him, Ahab shouted, "Catch him! Don't let him get away!" Elijah didn't stop running until he reached a quiet valley with a little brook called Cherith. God had told him to hide there. He flopped down by the water, splashing some on his hot face. The trees swayed, and the brook gurgled like it was singing. It was so peaceful. "Thanks, God," Elijah said, grinning up at the sky. "I knew you'd keep me safe." Just then, a loud caw made him jump. Two big black ravens swooped down, carrying bread and meat in their beaks. They dropped it right in front of him and tilted their heads like they were proud. Elijah laughed. "Hey, thanks, buddies," he said, grabbing the bread. It was warm and yummy. "God's got the best delivery service." The ravens cawed back, flapping their wings. Every day they brought him food, breakfast and dinner, right on time. Elijah would sit by the brook eating and chatting with them. "You're pretty smart, huh?" he'd say, and they'd puff up their feathers. But soon the sun got hotter and the brook started drying up. First, it was just a trickle, then barely a drip. Elijah watched it shrink, but he wasn't scared. He trusted God. One morning, the brook was totally dry. Elijah knelt in the dust and prayed, "God, I knew this would happen. What's next?" God's voice answered, soft but clear, "Go to Zarephath. A widow there will help you." Elijah hopped up, dusted off his cloak, and started walking. He didn't know what was ahead, but he knew God was leading the way. Chapter 2. The Widow's Miracle. Elijah trudged along the dusty road to Zarephath, his sandals slapping the ground. The sun was blazing, but he kept going, excited to see what God had planned. At the town gate, he spotted a woman picking up sticks. She looked worn out, her face all worried. A little boy stuck close to her, peeking at Elijah with big, curious eyes. "Hey there," Elijah called. "Could you get me some water? And maybe a piece of bread if you've got any." The woman turned, frowning. "Oh, mister," she said, "I don't have bread. I've only got a tiny bit of flour and a drop of oil left. I was going to make one last meal for me and my son, Sammy. After that, we're out of luck." Elijah felt bad for her. "Don't worry," he said kindly. "Make me a little cake first, then some for you and Sammy. God promises your flour and oil won't run out until the rain comes back." She stared at him. "Really?" she said. "There's not even enough for us." "Trust me," Elijah said, smiling. "God's got this." The woman took a big breath. "Okay," she said. "Come on, Sammy." She led her son home to their tiny house. Inside, it was dark except for a small fire. She mixed the flour and oil, her hands shaky. She cooked a little cake and handed it to Elijah. "Here," she said nervously. "Thanks," Elijah said, biting into it. It was warm and tasty. Then she checked her jars. "Oh my goodness," she gasped. "Sammy, look, the flour jar's still full, and the oil, it's not empty." Sammy ran over. "It's magic, Mama," he yelled, bouncing around. The woman turned to Elijah, her eyes wet. "You were right. God's helping us." From then on, they had plenty to eat every day. The jars never ran out, and their house was full of happy chatter. But one day, Sammy got sick. He lay on his mat, sweaty and quiet. The widow tried everything, but he got worse. Then one morning he stopped breathing. "No," she cried, hugging him. "My Sammy!" She looked at Elijah, tears streaming. "Did you bring this bad luck?" Elijah shook his head. "No way," he said softly. "Give him to me. I'll pray." He carried Sammy upstairs, laid him on the bed and shut the door. Kneeling, he prayed hard. "God, please bring him back. Show her you love them." He leaned over Sammy, once, twice, 3 times. Then, gasp! Sammy coughed. His eyes opened, and he smiled weakly. Elijah scooped him up, laughing. "You're back!" He ran downstairs. "Look who's awake!" "Sammy!" the widow screamed, grabbing him. "You're alive!" She hugged him tight, then turned to Elijah. "You're amazing! God really hears you." Elijah grinned. "God's the amazing one. He loves you both so much." After that, the widow trusted God even more, and their little house stayed full of hope. Chapter 3. The Showdown on Mount Carmel. 3 years went by since Elijah's big announcement. The land was super dry. No rain, no rivers, just dust everywhere. People were thirsty and tired, but God had a big plan. Elijah stood on Mount Carmel, staring at a huge crowd. King Ahab had brought 450 Baal prophets, all loud and proud in their silly robes. The people of Israel watched, confused about who to follow. Elijah raised his hands. "Hey, everyone!" he shouted. "Stop flip-flopping! If God's real, follow him! If Baal's real, follow him!" No one said a word. "Here's the deal," Elijah said. "We'll have a contest. The Baal guys call for fire on their altar. I'll call for fire on mine. Whoever sends fire is the true God." A Baal prophet smirked. "Piece of cake," he yelled. "Baal's gonna win." Elijah shrugged. "Let's find out." The Baal prophets built their altar, piled on wood, and put a bull on top. They danced around yelling, "Baal, send fire, show them." They danced all morning. Nothing happened. The crowd started snickering. Elijah grinned. "Maybe Baal's sleeping," he called. "Yell louder, maybe he's on a trip." The prophets went nuts, shouting and jumping. They even cut themselves with knives, but by night still no fire. They flopped down, sweaty and mad. "My turn," Elijah said. He fixed God's altar with 12 stones, added wood and laid a bull on it. Then he dug a trench around it. "Get water," he said. People brought jars and soaked the altar until water pooled in the trench. "What's he doing?" someone whispered. "Fire can't burn wet stuff." Elijah didn't care. He looked up and prayed, "God, show them you're real. Answer me." Silence. Then, crash, fire blasted from the sky. It burned up everything, the bull, the wood, even the water. The crowd screamed and dropped to their knees. "God's the real God," they cheered. Ahab just stared. The Baal prophets tried to run, but the people stopped them. Elijah looked at Ahab. "Rain's coming, better go!" Ahab zoomed off in his chariot. Elijah prayed on the mountain, sending his servant to check the sea. 6 times, nothing. The 7th time, "A tiny cloud," the servant yelled. The sky turned dark, and rain poured down. People danced in it, laughing. The drought was over. Elijah smiled in the rain. God had won big time. Chapter 4. The Whisper and the Chariot. The story wasn't done. Queen Jezebel was so mad about Mount Carmel, she sent a scary message. "Elijah, you're toast by tomorrow." Elijah freaked out. He ran into the wilderness and collapsed under a scruffy tree. "I'm done, God," he cried. "They hate me. Just let me quit." He fell asleep, wiped out, but soon someone tapped him. An angel stood there glowing. "Eat this," the angel said, handing him a cake and water. Elijah ate, feeling better, and slept again. The angel woke him. "Eat more, big trip ahead." He munched and walked 40 days to Mount Horeb. In a cave he hid, still scared. God whispered, "Elijah, why are you here?" "I tried so hard," Elijah said, "but they want me dead. I'm alone." God said, "Stand outside." A wild wind smashed rocks, but God wasn't there. An earthquake rattled everything. No God. A fire roared. Nope. Then a tiny whisper came. Elijah listened. God said, "You're not alone. I've got 7,000 friends for you. Go back. More to do." Elijah felt brave again. On his way, he met Elisha, a guy plowing with oxen. Elijah tossed his cloak over him. Elisha blinked. "Am I with you now?" "Yep," Elijah said. "God picked you." Elisha hugged his family and followed. Years later, by the Jordan River, Elijah asked, "What do you want before I leave?" "Double your spirit," Elisha said. "If you see me go, it's yours," Elijah replied. A fiery chariot zoomed down, splitting them apart. Elijah whooshed up in a whirlwind, gone. Elisha yelled, "Wow!" He grabbed Elijah's cloak, hit the river, and it split. God's power was his now. That's Elijah's wild tale, trusting God through crazy times, from dry brooks to fiery rides.